All right, y'all, you've tuned into a preview. Number 10 Texas traveling to Athens, Georgia to take on the number 5 Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia's favored by 6.5. The over-under is 48.5. This is going to be an extra fun matchup this season, and Hunter and I are super excited for it. So, Hunter, thoughts on this game, post-CFP rankings, post everything we know right now?
Texas is now in the prospective bracket, moving up from 11 to 12. So now they find themselves in that prospective bracket. It looks good to see yourself there as the season goes on. Georgia obviously has been in it, for a while now, with the only loss being to Alabama. This is a big one for these two teams. A big game last year where Georgia went down to Austin, put a ton of pressure on Quinn Ewers, forced some turnovers early. Now Texas looks to go be one of the only two teams, if they can do it, to beat Georgia at home in the last 3 years. Alabama right now, the only team to have been able to do it. Saw Arch Manning was on the phone calling back and forth with Ty Simpson, trying to get some tips. Same way the other way around. Ty was asking.
I'll say vice versa, because Ty's trying to get some tips for Oklahoma. Yeah,
these two looking to try to figure out how to get some wins this weekend, but we'll see. It'll be a good game either way.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I don't know how I feel about this little, interconference QB room during the season conversation. Apparently they're buddies. Maybe they met at SEC Media Days. I don't know, but this is going to be an interesting test. We saw this Georgia team really work Quinn Ewers twice last year. And we saw Arch go in the game for about a drive in Austin last season. This defense for Georgia is not as intimidating as last year's defense, but this offense for Texas, while Arch is top 10 in the SEC for passing yards, has not been as consistent and when it comes to their offensive prowess. But they have looked dominant against Vanderbilt, and they have looked to play better. So thoughts on this Texas offense versus this newer Georgia defense? Quick break. Want to talk about our new partnership with Backer. Backer produces collegiate apparel for the true devoted fan. Backer wanted to ultimately create products that were quality, could last a long time, and you could wear in the mountains, rainy games, sunny games. They produce hats, outerwear, jackets, hoodies, and they're partnered with some of the best teams in the college football space right now. They have Georgia apparel, Texas apparel, and even better, 10% of the proceeds for each purchase go to the student athletes. If you're interested in learning more about their products, hit that link in the bio. And once again, thank you for tuning into our content.
I got a lot of thoughts on this matchup. I think this is the matchup of the game, is this Texas offense versus Georgia defense. And it's what Arch Manning has done to completely turn around the perception of him from the beginning of the season. First 5 games of the season, and we know how it started. We know it started with the Ohio State game, and we know the 5th game of the season was the Florida game. And then since then, they've looked really good. The thing I talked about with Arch Manning is his depth of target. To start out the season, he was airing it out. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if it was a game plan thing, jitters. Dude was launching the ball. Average depth of target in the first 5 games of the season, 12 yards, 5 picks. The last 4 games, 6-yard average depth of target, only 1 pick. They brought the game in, high percentage throws. I don't think anything changes here. They're giving him the opportunity to show out without making mistakes, and I think that's great for him and his confidence.
I think it's huge for him, right? And I think people were kind of questioning Steve Sarkisian's play calling abilities to that point in the season. Hadn't really seen that happen under Quinn Ewers. Obviously, you watch that Vanderbilt game. He threw a quick screen. You saw a lot of intermediate passes, like you mentioned. Arch is playing mistake-free football. We saw a good amount of that in Mississippi State. We saw a ton of that in Vanderbilt. And this Georgia defense, of course, you have a lockdown corner in Dalen Everett on one side. You got Ellis Robinson on the other side. They haven't necessarily been proven to get a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. Texas had some trouble kind of keeping Arch upright, but if he has time to make passes, could be a different game.
Right. And it is the Texas O-line, especially early on in the season, was letting free runners at Arch, which wasn't helping the confidence. Georgia right now, only 3 teams, Power 4 teams, have less pressure generated than Georgia. They're only getting 1 sack per game. We saw it a little bit better against the Mississippi State.
Yeah, they had 3 sacks against Mississippi State.
That was a little bit better. That brought up their average. They were less than a sack a game before that. We talked about it in our preview there. Can they get pressure here? The ability now for Texas to get the ball out quicker isn't going to help with that. You talked about Moore, we talk about Wingo, Wisner. Between those three guys, they have over 600 yak yards on the season. Give them the ball. Let them make the plays. Don't be asking Arch to do too much when you have these great guys around you. Get the ball out quick. Don't let Georgia get that pressure. So, there's a big part of it is how they continue to nurture this offensive approach against Georgia. Georgia's been good at stopping the run for the most part. It's the pass defense down deep. We'll see how this plays out.
We'll see how it plays out. And, Georgia this season has not necessarily put a full 4 quarters together, but, Gunnar Stockton has really shown out at any point in the game when he's needed to be that guy. And right now he's top 5 in the SEC from a passer rating perspective. So, 15 passing touchdowns, 7 rushing touchdowns. He leads the team in rushing TDs. Last week we saw Nate Frazier go for 181 against Mississippi State, but really the main runner is Stockton when they need a score.
Yep.
The question I wonder for Texas's defense, I watched them, give up 3 touchdowns to Vanderbilt in the second half. Are they going to be able to play a full 4 quarters against this Georgia offense that has a 3-headed rushing attack with Bowens, with Frazier, with Stockton, and Stockton's now kind of getting the passing game involved more from what we were looking to see this season from him?
I think it's going to have to be a passing game. I think this running that's worked so well for Georgia up to this point is going to run out a little bit in this game. Texas right now, number 3 in the nation for rush yards allowed, only 78. They've done a really good job at locking up backs, quarterbacks. And I look at the Vanderbilt game, they were missing a key component of their defense. One of the best guys on the team defensively, and that's Michael Taft. He'll be back for this game as far as we know. It's what the conversation is going. I mean, he's a late 2nd round guy, in the upcoming draft, more than likely. Him being back, Jelani McDonald, expected to be back from that injury last week. I think that impacted the Vanderbilt game, where now you bring those guys back. I think that they can shut this down a little bit. Gunnar Stockton, though, has been playing lights out in the pass game too, like a lot of better connection with his receivers, good tight end seams. So, some things have been working for them.
Yeah, definitely been using their weapons. Lawson Lucky, Oscar Delp. We even saw Noah Thomas get involved. Texas A&M transfer. Hadn't seen a ton from him this season. He got a huge touchdown in that game against Mississippi State. Zachariah Branch has kind of been their main guy since Colby Young went down with the injury. They've been spreading the wealth around. And I live here in Atlanta, so I've heard a lot of people critique Mike Bobo and his OC play calling. Haven't heard much of that this season with this new and improved Georgia offense.
Yeah, they kind of scapegoat him. They'll like put it on him, and it's not his fault. Certain things just don't go right. It comes a little bit from a spoiled nature of just always being really good, where you want things to be cranking 100% of the time. You're going to have 3 and outs. You're going to have drives that fizzle out. Right now in this game, you look at Georgia being at home. That's a huge factor in this game. It's one of the best home field advantages in the sport. That they're very hard to beat at home. Right now, Texas has yet to win a road game in regulation this year. They have 2 road losses,
the Kentucky game,
and 2 in OT. 2 losses on the road and then 2 overtime wins. They have not won 1 in regulation.
Yeah, and it's really hard to go into Sanford Stadium. I was at the Georgia Alabama game, not to keep referencing the games I've gone to, but I saw that it was a dogfight, right? And there's a lot of plays that Georgia called to try to take the lead in that game. It's really hard to play there at night. We saw Georgia go into DKR last season and win at night, but obviously their home win streak and what they've done over the past couple seasons does speak volumes. Any final thoughts for this game when we think about Georgia's defense, Georgia's offense, Texas's defense? You mentioned it, number 1 in the SEC when it comes to rushing yards per game allowed, 78.7, and then Texas's offense and Arch Manning.
I think some keys here are the way 2 different things match up. Right now, it's going to be, does the pass rush for Georgia impact Arch Manning? That's going to be one thing to watch. The other thing I want to see is, can Georgia consistently run the ball? We haven't seen what happens with Georgia offensively if the running goes away. So should that happen, should they come out and not be able to, pick up some yards, they find themselves in 2nd and long, 3rd and long, how does this Georgia team then, respond? Those are the 2 things I want to watch in this game right now, because of the lack of pressure, because of Texas's kind of rise. I at this point in the season offensively, I'm going to take Texas. I'm going to say Texas 27-24 in overtime.
Ooh, walk in your trap and take over your trap. All right. I think Georgia's playing some of the best football right now in the country. I mean, ever since that Alabama win, they've ripped off 5 or 6 straight wins. We saw their most dominant performance against Mississippi State. We saw Texas struggle against Mississippi State. They were down 17 at one point. I think that Georgia is seeing blood right now. They can see the playoffs in their destiny. This is new territory for this current Texas team, and it's obviously new territory for the Georgia team. I like Georgia in this game. I do think it'll be a close one. I'm going to say 27-20 Georgia, however.
All right. That would be a close one for the spread here. Right now, 6.5, 48.5 over under as it sits right now. It's going to be a night game. You said it. I mean, Sanford Stadium turns up at night. It's a hard place to play. We'll see what happens here. Yeah, it's going to be a good game. Both these teams really playing not only for the playoff, there's potential for the SEC championship game implications because of the way this game goes for not only these two teams, other teams in the SEC will be watching this. A&M matters to them. It matters to Ole Miss. It matters to Alabama a little bit. So big game all around. Georgia fans, Texas fans, hit the like button, subscribe button. We're going to be talking about your teams a lot as we do. 2 of the bigger names in the SEC. We appreciate you being here. I'm Hunter Ziesman, joined by Randall Ledet Jr. And until next time.